Welcome back to Families in Action here on KHTS AM 1220, your hometown station. I'm Michael Doherty along with Cary Quashen, and today we are talking about drinking and the holidays, Christmas and New Year's. Oh my, what people tend to do to themselves. Cary, did you know that 1 to 2 years ago, drunk driving arrests accounted for 60% of the arrests in the Santa Clarita Valley on Thanksgiving weekend, because we're talking about the holidays. Isn't that sad?
That's what our friend from the Highway Patrol said.
Wow. 60% of the arrests. That's a whole lot of people out there.
Well, you know what? I know that the Signal and KHTS was putting the arrest in the papers or whatever. And if you looked at it, it was always mostly drunk driving or driving under the influence of narcotics.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's really mind-boggling because whoever drinks or uses drugs, they know they're going to drive. So it makes, really, if you think about it, not a whole lot of sense. Why would you put drugs in your body knowing you're going to drive? Why would you go to a bar with a car knowing you got to get home?
That's right. And in case our listeners sitting there with this stereotypical image of a drunk driver, I'm about to bust that bubble.
Bust it.
Because these are some of the people, just some of the people that got arrested for drunk driving. An electrician, a teacher, an escrow officer, a human resources manager, a hairstylist, and a chef.
Yep.
And that's just a tip of the iceberg.
Well, I've been doing drug treatment now for 30 plus years, and the faces of addiction has changed dramatically. It's not what you used to think. The addict was the guy in the alley shooting dope. You're talking about the teacher from Burbank High School.
Exactly.
Or the elementary school from Castaic. I mean, these are the people we're treating, or the cop from Agora Hills. I mean, these are the people that we're treating today. And a lot of that reasons, I mean, it's of course, alcohol is always number one, but then you get the opioid explosion right now, or what you would call epidemic, or the benzos. I mean, these people have been taking these pills forever, and when the most time they decide to stop it, it's like, they can't. Both physically and emotionally, they're strung out. So the faces of addiction has dramatically changed. So it's a different, actually it's even different treatment today than it used to be, because you got the addict that, like you said earlier, it's in the genes. They're going to grow up. They start with a cigarette, then they smoke a little bit of weed, and next thing you know it, all those other drugs of opportunity are in their face, and they take them, they fall in love, and they're done. Then we get them, and we have to treat them, and they have, that addictive personality, and it's going to be a fight forever. And those fights can be won. If you take care of your treatment the way you're supposed to, and you go to your meetings and you go to your counseling. But then you have the other person that we're treating today, which is what you call the accidental addict. They had a back problem, they had surgery, they got prescribed medications, and before you know it, they were addicted to it, and they needed more and more and more, and they found themselves in that deep dark hole, and they can't get out. So you got those kind of addicts that we're treating today too, where we have to bring them in. We still have to detox them. We still have to emotionally detox them too, along with the physical detox, and get them strong enough to go out there and find other methods of treating their pain and that kind of stuff. So the treatment has changed pretty dramatically.
And just back on the alcoholic side of things, I just wanted to mention something. As I said, I'm not an alcoholic. I've never had a drinking problem, anything like that. But I have read the Alcoholics Anonymous Big Book, because I was a television producer and a director, and we put that on videotape for people as a training device. And one of the things that was very interesting was what Dr. Bob said in the book. He was one of the two people,
he said a lot
Bill
of things.
and Dr. Bob,
That's
right? But one of the
right.
things that he mentioned was that it's something that can be in your genes. So if you have a parent or someone in your family who's an alcoholic, it's not smart for you to drink because, and this is what
by the
like.
way, it could skip generations.
Exactly. And here was a thing that I liked. It said it might not be the first drink, it might not be the 10th drink, it might not be the 100th drink, but somewhere in there is the drink that you're going to drink, and you are an alcoholic. And being an alcoholic doesn't go away ever.
No, if you have that gene, And if you're an alcoholic or you got that obsessive kind of behavior and you take that alcohol sip or that drug and it does something to your brain, and once that is there, you're going to chase that's something for forever.
Exactly.
And it makes good people do bad things. It turns good dreams into nightmares, and it can happen like that.
Yes.
Take an adolescent. We got kids that were prom queen. I mean, president of the class.
Oh, yeah.
And in 2 weeks, we're failing school, dropping out, not caring much about nothing anymore. It can happen really quickly or very slowly. But the problem is if you have that gene and you're playing with that drug or that alcohol, it's going to happen.
And again, I've told you about this before, but as a television producer, I was involved in a program that we did about I think it was 3 or 4 high school girls that got involved with meth.
Right.
And
right.
it was, and in all of the cases, it was totally innocent. One of them,
all drug abuse starts innocently.
Yeah. And here was one of the girls that just wanted to lose a couple of pounds before the prom. Somebody said meth.
Meth is such a seductive drug.
And that's what she did. She used a little meth, wanting to lose, and the next thing you know, she's absolutely destroyed.
Yeah, it's one of the worst drugs there are. Not that any drug is good, but meth is definitely one of the worst. It can really take a toll on your body. If you don't believe me, go on Faces of Addiction, and you'll see the meth pictures before and after. It's pretty. In fact, in jails, they were having a huge crisis when we had the meth epidemic. They were coming in, people's bones were brittle, teeth were rotting.
Oh, yeah. I've seen the pictures of what the meth addicts look like. Oh, not a pretty picture.
Problem with meth, a little different than any other drug, as soon as you hit it, it's what I call a shortcut to the pleasure zone of your brain. As soon as you go, bang, it releases so much stuff in your brain, all that feel-good stuff, and you feel like you're on top of the world, better than you ever felt before, and that's the high that people chase. When you hear about the monkey on your back, that's one of them.
Wow.
Or of course, the opiate addict that needs the opioids to get
I wanted to read
better.
something you wrote here, and this goes back to drinking alcohol during the holidays. If you thought the days of peer pressure and temptation were over as you moved out of your teenage years, think again. Many people consume too much alcohol because their friends pressure them to continue drinking. That one for the road, or let's have another round before you leave, is deadly thinking, especially if you get behind the wheel of a car. This bothers me a lot, Cary. It always has. I've known a lot of people in my life that were alcoholics, and this business about, oh, come on, it's just a beer, come on, take a drink, one little sip's not going to bother you. That's a despicable thing to do to somebody.
It's a dangerous thing to do to somebody. I've seen many people that got sober and went out to dinner with people, and people say, hey, you know what? Yeah, you were drinking too much. One beer won't hurt. So if you know somebody that's trying to stop, and to even say, hey, one beer, that one beer could be the one that pushes them over the edge. And you always hear one's too many and thousands not enough. If you have that gene, if you're an alcoholic, if you're an addict, it's not one of those kind of, people say just it's self-will. It's not one of those kind of things. It's really a disease. Once they take that drink or that pill, they're off to the races. That part of their brain is now just went haywire, and it's going to crave its. I can't even explain the cravings.
Well, my father was an alcoholic, and he said to me one day when he was sober, and he was sober a lot. I don't want to suggest that he wasn't, but he said to me one day, I wish that I could be a social drinker. And he said, unfortunately, if I have one beer, I have to have all the beers.
And that's really what it is. Once you take that first sip, if you're an alcoholic, it triggers that part of your brain that needs more and is going to get it no matter what at any cost.
Well, here's something else, Cary, that's interesting, and because you run the behavioral health unit at Henry Mayo Newhall Hospital, and I work there as well. Depression, especially during the holidays, often contributes to too much drinking because people are self-medicating, right?
If you don't take, and I always say that, if you don't take care of yourself, if you don't deal with your feelings of sadness, or if you don't do things to make you happy, you're going to end up in trouble. And what happens to the person that's depressed? if they don't get help.
They self-medicate.
They get more depressed.
Yeah, they sure do.
They get sick. They self-medicate. They drink too much. They act out sexually too much. They gamble too much. They spend money too much. So everybody's looking for that quick fix. So really, it's, if you got any kind of depression, you really want to reach out and get some help. We have a lot of clergy out here that can help you find a good therapist. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out here in Santa Clarita that you can do to get some help. The worst thing you can do is just say, I'll get over it. Nah.
Not going to happen.
No.
And unfortunately, the reason it's not going to happen is because clinical depression puts you in a place where you literally can't pull your own self out of it. You simply need the help of a therapist and possibly even medication.
Possibly even medication. And there are different kinds of depression. We know that. Your girlfriend breaks up with you, or your boss yells at you. Your dog bites you.
You have a bad day.
Your feelings are going to be hurt. You're going to have a bad day. And everyone has bad days, but you're going to get over it. What we're talking about when we say clinical depression is when it gets in the way of you facing life.
Right.
When you really don't want to go to work, you don't want to show up at events, you just really want to lay in bed and just crawl under the covers and never get up.
And time-wise, we're usually talking about something, if you're down and you find yourself still down after about a week to a week and a half, that's starting to look like clinical depression.
Yeah, you might then want to pick up your little insurance card and call the behavioral health number on the back and ask, hey, where can I get some therapy in Santa Clarita?
Exactly.
And that kind of stuff, because trying to do that on your own when it's in the way of you living is dangerous.
And of course, we talked about this before a couple of weeks ago, but depression during the holidays, the holidays can bring on depression, and of course then you may turn to drugs or alcohol to help deaden that, and of course when the drugs and the alcohol wear off, you're going to still be depressed.
Right.
Not going to be feeling good.
And holidays aren't like the Hallmark Channel, where everybody's happy and stuff. There's things going on in families.
It can happen.
People don't get along. There's divorces. There's fights. There's family feuds, or expectations that aren't being met. So when we start putting expectations and dealing with all that, come January, that our behavioral health unit fills up.
Just like your treatment facilities.
Like my treatment
sure do.
Because of all the letdowns and stuff that people, they didn't get what they really wanted, those feelings that they wanted for the holidays.
Now, regarding holiday drinking, once again, Cary, here's some tips. Number one, if you're drinking, don't drive, which we've talked about already.
Say that. We want to say that about 500 times because people aren't going to listen.
If you're drinking, don't drive because I don't want you to kill me or yourself.
Why aren't people going to listen to that? Think about it. It doesn't make sense. Why aren't people going to listen? If you're drinking, don't drive.
Yeah.
What happens if you drink and drive? It could be a catastrophe, right?
Yeah.
It's a prescription for something bad.
You think you're in control, but you're not.
If you're drinking, don't drive. People aren't going to listen. Why not? If you're drinking, don't drive. I want to say it again. Yeah. If you're drinking, don't drive.
Come not.
Up with a plan.
Don't even think about
Simple.
it. Simple. I did a documentary called "The Drinking Driver: Murder Under the Influence."
Did you? That sounds pretty heavy.
Won a lot of awards, and
Did you win an Emmy?
I did. I got an Emmy for my videography.
How cool is that?
But it was for another story, not that story.
It doesn't matter. You still won it. That's pretty good. Very good.
Here's another one. If you are choosing not to drink, stay away from the bar area. Now that sounds silly, but I have to tell you, I went with my father to an AA meeting one time,
right.
And there happened to be a person that I knew that was a radio announcer in there, and he was sitting there drinking a cup of coffee, right, as they all were, and one of the people there asked him, by the way, you're still going into bars, aren't you? And he said, well, yeah, I am, but I'm not drinking. I'm just sitting there talking to my friends. And he said, well, how long do you think it'll be before you decide to take a drink? And the guy just didn't answer. And he said, really? I'm just telling you as a friend, stay the heck out of the bars.
Yeah. If you want to stay away from triggers and slippery places if you're drinking. It's just like if you hang out at the barbershop long enough, you're going to get a haircut. I hate to say it, if you lay down with dogs long enough, you're going to get fleas.
Yeah, and then you smell like a dog.
Then if you don't want to drink and you're hanging out at bars, one of two things are going to happen. You're going to stop hanging out at bars or you're going to end up drinking there.
Wow. Now here's another tip, and this one sounds silly, but think about it. It isn't. If offered a drink, say no thank you. And you don't have to explain yourself. That's the part that bothers me, when people say no and people won't let them alone. Oh, come on. And then they have to, they're feeling embarrassed about it. But you know what? You don't really have to explain. Just say, no, I don't want one. Thank you.
It's that simple. If you want to explain yourself, you can. If you're going out to a family function and you're trying not to drink, you can let people know that too. You can, before you even show up, you can say, you know what? I need a little support. I haven't been drinking and I don't want to. Just let people know what's going on with you. So a lot of times people will respect that, and they'll kind of help you through it or be careful around you and that kind of stuff.
That's a great one. Here's another tip. If you feel that you are becoming tempted to drink, leave early.
That's right.
And that'd be pretty easy because you hadn't been drinking, so you can get in your car and drive like a sane person to get out of there, right?
And if you're a teenager and you're listening to this show, please, if you're not drinking, that's great. We don't want you to drink,
No.
but if you're around people that are, don't get in the car.
No. Oh, no. Heavens, no.
No, we have what you call what is it called here?
Safe rides.
Safe rides, which is for teenagers, and you pick the phone, you call Safe Rides, and they will come pick you.
No explanation needed.
No explanation needed.
And here's another one. Stay busy. This is if you're at a function where they're drinking. Talk to others, dance, do something, but don't give yourself time to think about the fact that you're not drinking. That's a good one.
Then again, though, but if you're feeling unsafe, leave.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to. If you're really trying to do right and not drink and all that kind of stuff, and you're in a spot where it's very uncomfortable and you can't trust yourself, get out of that spot.
That's right.
Or pick up the phone and call somebody that's going to support you.
Yeah. And if you hang around too long, you're going to wind up in trouble.
Yeah.
There's just no question about it.
That's for sure.
And I have to say, Cary, that I
can say one more time. Don't drink and drive.
Don't drink and
If
drive.
you're going to drink, don't drive.
That's a good. Keep repeating it.
Hey, if you don't drink and drive, you won't get arrested.
No, you can't get arrested for drunk driving.
And you're not going to kill anyone for being under the influence.
I have to tell you, I think I've told you this story, but I think I was about 18 or 19 years old, and a friend of mine and I were out. I don't remember what we were doing, but it was way dark, and this was in Alaska. And we came up to an intersection, and there was a truck sitting in the intersection, and we realized that they had been in a head-on collision, and the whole front of their car, the truck, was smashed to pieces, and it was smoking. And we looked, and the driver is still sitting in the cab behind the wheel. It's slumped over. So we ran out of our car, and we opened it. We looked in. His window was open. We said, "Hey, are you okay?" And all of a sudden, he came to. He became alert, and we could tell he was very drunk. Right. And he looked at us and he said, "What's going on?" And we said, "You've been in a terrible car accident." And he said, "Where am I?" And we said, "You're in the middle of an intersection." He said, "Oh, I got to get out of here." And he tried to put his truck in gear. So we're grabbing a hold of him and saying, "Don't do anything." We could, but believe it or not, he got the car started. I don't know how he was able to get the engine going. But this guy was so drunk, he had no clue what had happened to him. It was so sad, and I don't know what the other car looked like. Apparently they took off.
Yeah, there's some crazy stuff out there. That's
there
for
is.
Sure.
But we don't want that to happen to anybody, because he could have just as easily died from that or been seriously injured.
Well, every day people die from drunk driving crashes. Every day people get arrested for drunk driving. Every day people get abused from being under the influence. I can go on for days.
And I want to say something too, Cary. Well, first I'm going to say, if you're drunk, don't drive.
If you're going to drink, don't drive. Have a designated driver. Call Uber. There's yellow cab, whatever it is.
That's right.
If you're going to drink, don't drive.
And here's
safe.
Here's the other thing I wanted to say. I don't ever want to be the person who was guilty of saying to somebody who's an alcoholic, "Oh, have just a little."
Right.
Have a little sip, just to toast the new year.
Because people don't understand the disease of alcoholism. They don't understand that once that alcoholic takes that sip, it triggers something in their brain different than what people know, and they're off to the races.
I was at, some years ago, we were selling the Big Book video at the AA convention and happened to be in San Diego. And it was interesting to me to find out that many people who are alcoholics are very, very, very careful about some of the products that they have in their home. For instance, they don't want any alcohol in their mouthwash. And so they're actually looking to make sure that nothing that they put into their body contains alcohol.
Yeah, they don't even
That's how serious it is.
They don't even want to cook with alcohol.
Just to piggyback off of that, I have a friend who I know, he has a problem with alcohol. If he keeps going, he thought that he could stop for a while and then restart. And that he would have restarted his, whatever it would be, tolerance or whatever. And I know it's a problem right now, and if it continues, it will become alcoholism. And we're talking about this enabling thing. My friends go out with him and enable him. These are my best friends from back home.
Yep.
And I refuse to take part in it because he's my best friend. And
good for you.
And I've basically lost him as a friend because he doesn't.
Right.
Who am I to talk to him about something like that when I drink or things of that nature? But I refuse to enable him and go out with him and be a part of that. And it's caused a fraction in my friend group because of it. And I get very upset with my friends that they go out and drink with him because it's, what are you doing?
And they all know really what's going on.
They know, of course they know. They know that there's something wrong here.
Right, and alcohol.
And they're scared to talk to him.
And we get a lot of people. We get a lot of people that come into our treatment centers too, Justin, that really want to come and just get off the dope and figure they can use other lesser drugs or not use as much once they detox. But alcoholism and drug addiction, it doesn't take a break. If you take a break from alcohol and you're an alcoholic, or you take a break from drugs and you're a drug addict, your disease of addiction and alcoholism is not taking a break. Only you are. So once you start drinking or using again, it triggers that disease and you are right back to where you were before you stopped.
And by the way,
that can happen in a week or 10 years. If you have that gene, as Mike was saying, or you have that addictive personality, once you start, it triggers that part of your brain that needs more.
And by the way, that voice you heard was our board operator, Justin, who sits there week after week with the headphones on, nodding his head at what we say.
I love when he jumps in.
Yeah, absolutely. I could tell he was passionate about something. I knew we were getting ready.
But it's hard to see a friend.
Oh, my goodness.
Self-destruct, but I'll tell you what, you're what I would call a real friend.
Yeah.
Because friends really do care about their friends, and they care enough to step up and say, hey, you're hurting yourself and I don't want to watch that.
Right.
Friends that edge people on saying, oh, watch this, we're going to get him really drunk. They're not friends.
No.
They don't really care. They're getting amused at somebody's weakness.
And I have to say, it's no fun watching somebody who's an alcoholic that's killing themselves. My father died of alcoholism.
Mine too.
He was a great guy.
Mine too. In fact, he died. I had a year and 6 days clean and sober. And he said, one of the things he said to me was, I wish I could have gotten sober with you. And I'm sorry for my drug addiction. Well, it was one of the very last things he said to me.
My goodness.
Yeah, but you know what? He couldn't help himself. He had that disease of alcoholism and drug addiction, and there weren't the treatment options that they are today.
Yeah.
There's a lot more things today. We know a lot more about alcoholism and drug addiction. There's a lot more things we can do today.
So
I know. On that note, Mike, I think it's time to go on break, isn't it?
It is, yeah. We're talking today about taking it easy for the holidays, not just drinking because the holidays are here, and being responsible and all that. And we will continue with more here on Families in Action on KHTS AM 1220, your hometown station.
Welcome back to Families in Action on your local hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. I'm Cary Quashen, along with Michael Doherty and Justin, our board op.
That's right.
Decided to jump in today, which we always appreciate. Thank you, Justin. Not just for jumping in, but for everything you've done. We appreciate you.
And what's the message we wanted to put out today?
Don't drink and drive.
Don't drink and drive.
We're not even saying don't drink. We're just telling you don't drink and drive. Be responsible. I'm not even saying drink responsible. I'm just saying, be responsible. Have a plan. Do what you want to do with your life, but have a plan to keep everybody else safe.
Now, we talked about drinking in the holidays and all that. Okay, so
by the way, I'm getting all kinds of text messages of people that are saying, don't drink and drive and that kind of stuff. I got, let's see here. I got Stephanie Weiss. Stephanie Weiss is in Texas. You almost called in, but she didn't.
Yeehaw.
We love you, Stephanie. Thanks for all you do. I got Donna Long that's coming in here. I mean, staying stuff. We got other people. We got Delise Diaz, they called, saying stay safe out there.
Merry
Christmas
my wife.
and happy holidays. Your wife texted in. Yeah, we have a lot of people texting in.
Cary, so, okay, we have people listening to us right now. And if you're listening and you're saying, okay, I am an alcoholic, but I'm very afraid to go forward and do something. Cary, what does treatment actually look like? What are the steps?
Well, I know it's scary. But I think the scariest part of treatment is picking up that phone and making the phone call, because once you do, 50% of your battle's over. It's getting to that point of saying, I need help. What'll happen if you call us, 1-800-367-8336. That's 1-800-367-8336. What'll happen is you'll speak to one of my intake workers, and they will on the phone help you figure out or call you in for an assessment. But first we have to find out, number one, do you have a lot of support at home? Can you do this by going into like an outpatient? We have an intensive outpatient. You go 2 or 3 times a week, and really it deals with alcohol, drugs, relapse prevention, impulse control, and all that stuff. If you have the right support at home and you're working and all that stuff, we can try an outpatient. If support is bad, if you're in trouble at work, if you're in trouble at home, we can look at a 2-week to a month inpatient residential program. And in our residential programs, they're not like you're going into this clinic or hospital. They're in beautiful places. I mean, we have like the old Round Rock Hotel in Piru, which is 10 miles from here. And there's people that really, just like whoever you are, that just want some help and need to get away from the hustle and bustle and need to really get their heads clear and maybe detox and that kind of stuff. Nothing scary about it. I think the hardest thing about treatment is when people say to themselves, do I have a problem? You probably do. You wouldn't ask yourself, number one. And number two is, if you could do it by yourself, you would have done it a long time ago. It's one of those kind of things that we need help. I tell you what, I have 36 years clean and sober on Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve.
And I didn't
Congratulations
do it by myself.
again.
I tried and couldn't do it, and finally went into a treatment program 36 years ago.
Now you can take that 36 years right now and tell them what our main message is today.
Don't drink and drive.
And I'm going to say it also. Don't drink and drive.
Be responsible. We're not even telling you not to drink. We're not even telling you to drink responsibly. We're just telling you, if you're going to drink unresponsibly, whatever, do it irresponsibly.
If you're going to be,
do it by yourself. Do it lock yourself in a house, go in a bar, but don't have any car with you. Don't have any keys with you. Make sure that you find that you have a way to get home, and a safe way to do it. Mike.
That's a pretty good message.
Justin, it's the holidays. What do you want to say to people out there, Justin?
It's pretty simple. Don't drink and drive, guys.
Exactly. And we really do. We wish you a happy holidays, whatever you celebrate.
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa.
Happy everything.
Happy everything.
Be safe out there. New Year is coming, and we want everybody to kind of be happy and the holidays to be good for you.
That's right.
Hey, is it time?
It is time to say goodbye.
It's time for us to close. We're not going to be back at least to the end of the year, right?
Yeah, that's right. We're going to be taking a break here.
So we want to wish everybody a happy holidays and a happy New Year's. And hey, we'll see you out there. Thanks for listening to AM 1220 KHTS Families in Action.